cumulative effect of British expansionist policies, economic exploitation, administrative innovations over a period of time, over the years, it resulted to simmering discontent. So there was discontent among whom? There was a simmering discontent. Among whom? Against
Among the
whom?
Indians against the
Simmer,
British,
simmer discontent of the civilians against whom?
the company
The
administration.
British.
Against the British East India Company. So this bursted into revolt of 1857. Okay. So we are seeing now the role of civilians in the 1857. Civilians played a role. It was started as a military cause where grease cartridges, rumor of using greased cartridges, fat of pig and cows were used, the rumor, and also using the bone, the crushed bone dust of these animals were used in the atta for making chapati. All rumors, there is no evidences. Because of this, and because of all these policies, there was a mistrust among the people with respect to the sepoys, with respect to British. That is why it became an anger which turned into revolt as a mutiny. And when it spread, people also started participating. Punjab was very peaceful, and major parts of Bengal was peaceful. Why? Only in the cantonment areas, wherever the military presence was there, it was the people, the sepoys were mutinied. South India, entirely peaceful. Bombay presidency, peaceful. So you can see that the revolt of 1857 had only few pockets of India fighting against the Britishers. The British used all its resources and the army, their regiments everywhere and curtailed down this event of revolt of 1857. How is it possible that Bengal was peaceful? Bengali people did not participate. How it is possible? So you can see that Bengal army cantonments were the place where this majorly the revolt took place. And the civilian point of view, they were not affected by this revolt of 1857 because it was not concerning them. It was concerning, this mutiny was concerning regarding the the revolt, what they had, grievances they had. So civilians, majorly the intelligentsia class also did not participate. So as you know that there are two types of civilians who participated. One was poor farmers, peasants who have been affected by the British economic policies and the ways how they destroyed the agriculture. And peasants were another class were artisans. And these artisans, craftsmen were also affected because these artisans and craftsmen are dependent on the produce of agriculture, as well as they were skilled master craftsmen who are there, who are dependent for their artifacts which they prepare, which they manufacture, and which is known for its beautiful carvings and intricate designs and very finely crafted artworks, which was patronized earlier by the power wielding class, but particularly the native states. Now, all the native states, one by one, it fell like a pack of cards. Once it fell like a pack of cards, you can see people who earlier patronized were not patronizing. So, slowly dying of art. So the art which was there slowly started to cease to exist. When it ceased to exist, people who were working as artisans had to go as farm workers. when they went as farm workers, they were not getting adequate payment. So they were also had grievances. So they rose in revolt. Feudal landlords and power wielding class were involved. The feudal landlords were the erstwhile zamindars who had lost their lands because earlier were collecting taxes and revenue, and they were keeping a part of it and they, for their expenses and upkeep of the zameen. Now these people have been pestered by the British East India Company to pay more and more revenues. A point came where zamindars were not in a position to pay this exorbitant land revenue tax, so they had to face the ire of the British that their lands were confiscated. Once lands were confiscated, this confiscated lands were auctioned. When the land was auctioned, it was bought or purchased by neo landlords. Who are the neo landlords? Rahul, who were the new neo landlords who purchased this auctioned land?
The bankers, the merchants.
Yes, those people who are involved themselves in finances, particularly the money lenders. These money lenders are the ones who became neo landlords because people had enough of food grains to eat and they produce and also to sow again. But when British pestered more and more these individual farmers as well as zamindars, they were not in a position to pay. So the farmers who had small parcels of land had caught in the in the web of what we called the finances. Certain times crops failed, and moreover, the exorbitant rate of interest which they took, the finance people, money lenders, did not spare them. At the time of harvest, they used to take away the entire harvest. So they started defaulting, peasants and farmers. Finally, the moneylenders started to usurp. What do you mean by usurp?
Snatching, snatching from them.
Grabbing, snatching away the lands from poor peasants and farmers. Moreover, British also snatched it from the zamindars because they did not pay the revenue. And once they auctioned, it went to those money lenders. So the money lenders became neo landlords. When they became neo landlords, poor peasants who are dependent on it, who have become bonded like it, they were not understanding these new landlords because zamindar and the peasant had a very complex relationship. At least zamindar was able to give some money, but these new landlords merely made the farmers as bonded laborers. They were not worried about their welfare, not looked after their what they will eat, what they will do. So this bonded laborers became so much frustrated, they have to revolt against the neo landlords. So these were all were happened because of whom? Because of the British. So people started to come in revolt against their policies. So economic causes. So farmers, peasants had to pay high land revenue. Those who are not able to pay, they are evicted from the land. And sometimes they were arrested. There were frequent famines. What do you mean by frequent famine, Soumya? Why there was frequent famine?
Maybe due to the cash crop cultivation.
Correct. Because Indian economy became colonial economy. That means what? What do you mean by the statement? Indian economy became colonial economy. Earlier, Indian economy was what kind of dependent? Agriculture. And this agriculture, mainly India was cultivating what? Food crops. When Britishers started to what if the greed for more and more revenue, they stopped the food crops. They started pressurizing the Indians to go for cash crops and plantations. And these are not for the good of Indians, but to feed the hungry industries in Britain. Why they wanted? Because of the industrial revolution that took place, large number of industries started. From where they will get raw materials? So India was made raw material producing country. And not only that, when this material goes to Britain, these machines made cheap machine made goods, and this goods was exported to India and people were made to buy. So this totally destroyed the indigenous farmers, artisans who were all dependent, and India became a hub for selling the manufacturing cheap machine made manufactured goods of the British. That is why in India, people when they were forced to go for cash crop, now people did not have money and now there is no food crop. When a farmer grows the crops, a portion of it he will be keeping food crops for his own consumption. When he grew cash crops, it was not even enough to pay the land revenue and also the share to the landowner or to the British. And when that was happening, farmers were forced to purchase, farmers were forced to buy in money the grains. But when the farmers were impoverished, when they had no money, they didn't have money to buy grains, so they starved. When they starved, disease came, hunger, hunger and disease. When hunger and disease struck, death toll took. So death toll led to the huge death of people, and that became consequently it was happening that turned into a famine. Though you can see that the erstwhile Bengal province, it had water, it had resources to cultivate, but people did not have money to go and plow the fields, not to pay for the workers, not to do the harvest, and they didn't have money to eat or buy grains for themselves. That is why frequent famines, it was man-made artificial famines, not natural. And it happened quite frequently. That means it is a purposefully made disaster. Jamindars, who are the erstwhile landlords, permanent settlement which British bought, they were not in a position to pay the taxes. If they're not paying the taxes, they were given ultimatum, either you surrender land. But Jamindars were started to hold on, but those who were holding on, they were evicted for not paying the exorbitant taxes. And now Zamindar's land was auctioned. When it was auctioned, this land was purchased by the power wielding class, particularly the neo landlords were money lenders. And now the Zamindars lost the erstwhile prestige they had, social prestige gone. So that is why Zamindars also are in anger against the British for making them impoverished, putting them in streets. As you know that there is a linkage between farmers and Zamindars. What was the farmers and Zamindars relationship? Zamindars were dependent on the farmers for produce, and in the settlement, in the 100% revenue, 89% of revenue belonged to British, 11% belonged to Zamindars. In this 11%, he had to maintain the estate, he has to maintain the people, and he has to give them the food, makan, means clothing, shelter, and also he need to induce agriculture. And also the other expenses for marketing the goods and getting revenue. And now, after all, he has to do all these works, but 89% of the revenue went to British. How many percent remained with Zamindar?
11.
11%. So this 11% was not enough, and in spite, British started to pester more and more revenue. So the 11% became 8%, 7%, and 6%, 5%. The reduction of started, the Jamindar was not in a position. So this position means he was not able to spend to the people, and farmers were at the receiving end. And they had to bear the brunt of this new revenue policies which the Britishers were doing at their whim and fancies. So they wanted to do away this new system so that the um, the farmers are saved. But farmers could not do that because they don't have the strength to do that. So oppression of farmers took place when British pestered for more and more land revenue, and they were changing it quite frequently at their own will. And when the British started to rule all over the country, they had same type of law, same type of administration. Now, these type of law enforcing agencies and law and other administration was alien. Earlier, people know only about Nizami and Diwani. But now, British is bringing English courts based on English law and also its own judicial system, police system, and administrative system. In the police system, which was there, and lower level officials, they were highly corrupt because if there is some problem, if somebody wants to go and file, they do not know how to file. So these police fellows will take money from the opposing side, and they will try to pacify those people who come and complain. And even if they receive, people do not know how to go to judicial system because now earlier when Sultan or Nawab was ruling, directly an agreed person can go to him and seek justice. Good or bad, he will receive justice in his favor or not in favor. It will be done immediately. But in the British administrative judicial system, first a person has to go to the court. Prior to going to court, you have to go to the lawyer, and this lawyer will ask for documents. What documents you have? What all proofs you have? Did you file a complaint? Did you have the FIR copy? If not, go and file. So people have to go for hunt and file. Even after filing, what they'll do, they'll come to the lawyer, and this lawyer asks, we have to file affidavit, and we have to file all those documents. Give me supporting documents. By the time people do not know all these things, and even after filing, they'll go for the order suit. And finally, what they'll do, the lawyers will negotiate a deal with the opposing side, and they'll take money from the rich people who have done injustice to poor, and this money will ensure that this people removes what we call the cases taken back. And now judicial system is crippled. It is favoring only the rich and the British. Who were oppressed. No justice was delivered. So these were the issues which plagued during the revolt of 1857 prior to 1857. And moreover, British eliminated one by one, all the native states. And the native states are the ones, the royal families and the affluent nobles, they are the ones who were patronizing the local priests. Priest means who? Brahmins, artisans, musicians, craftsmen. All these people started to lose their jobs. And middle class intelligentsia people, high class intelligentsia people, they had gone abroad for education, and they are now hoped that the British will use their services for administrative jobs. They are now feeling that British have betrayed them. They are not going to utilize their learning, their talents for civil services or government jobs. So they all became unemployed. When all became unemployed, these were the people who start the reform works, particularly the pre-Congress associations. So one among the major causes of the revolt was confidence of the people. Why? Why people became confident, Rahul? Because, Rahul, why people became confident that
Yes, sir.
we can also take over the British? What was a major fillip that got people got confident?
So earlier revolts were there, like before 1857. Many tribal revolts, region revolts were there.
Okay, good, good. So what happened? Contemporary world events, what is happening? People were also watching. In that, you can see in Anglo-Afghan war, you can see British were defeated continuously. And in the Crimean War, Russia lost. When Russia lost Crimean War, you will have the peasant and tribal revolt. And the Santal rebellion shook from the borders of Nepal to the borders of Andhra Pradesh. You had this Nepal Santal, and this rebellion took place, and that shook. And Britishers used force to defeat, but it also became a major uh, thorn in the flesh for the British. The rise of Trump, all of them led to the confidence of people that yes, we can also we can also take what we call take on the British. If Russians plus if Russians can lose Crimean War, why can't we defeat the British? That was the confidence, religious region. So we have seen fears of soldiers in the military cantonments that Christian missionaries were there. Particularly Brahmins were threatened by the arrival of missionaries doing their mission work, particularly in education. And these Purohitas or Brahmins were very much particular that education should not be given to everybody. They should not be given to women. They should not be given to the lower caste, oppressed class. Only the high caste Brahmins and the Kshatriyas are given education. So when Christians came, they started educating women, girls, and they started opening schools, and they also had their chapels in hospitals. They started in colleges, and moreover, they also were doing their mission work. So these things, they threatened that India will become a Christian country if you are going to let these Christian missionaries do their mission work. Since their presence was everywhere, they started schools giving education. These people want to cut them from the root. So they accuse that they are trying to proselytize them. They are in what you called attracting people through goods, money, through various schemes. So this they twisted and said that, oh, Christian missionaries doing mission work is attack of on the Hinduism and Islam. So Christianity is alien to India. That were propagated. Is Christianity Alien to India. Did British bring Christianity to India, Shiburam?
No, sir.
Then why?
They were the Portuguese.
Then when did Christianity come to India?
So since the time of Saint
So Saint Thomas brought it in 43 AD to northern part of the India, and he brought to southern part in 52 AD. So even before Christianity became the what you call reached Rome, it reached India with many Western countries. So this Christian religion is a Eastern religion, Oriental religion. So when British came, they are seen as they are from West, and Christian people were accused. And moreover, when these people tried to harm them and go and snatch some of their goods and everything, the British came in support of them. They hit them, so they were getting protection. That means these discontented people, upper caste people, they cannot go and touch the people, or they cannot go and harm them. It is also one among their what you call grievance that police is giving support to them. We cannot even go and hit them because they are trying to convert our people. This accusation, because they are seeing Christian missionaries an extension of East India Company rule. So this East India Company rule, they are seeing it. So that is why there was a lot of discontent and hatred that was filling. So all these things coupled with what? Britishers started to legislate. First among them to legislate was anti-sati. Who brought this anti-sati law? Who brought
Lord
this?
William Bentinck.
Lord Bentinck. At the behest of whom?
Raja Rammohn Roy.
Raja Ram Mohan Roy. When Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he was propaganda, and also with the efforts of the Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, there was lot of what he called reforms made in India. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So laws were changed. In that, the inheritance law was changed. What do you mean by inheritance law? What do you mean by inheritance alone?
When a person dies, his heir,
Transfer
legal heir,
properties.
would get all the properties.
Share of property. According to Hinduism, what is the no? We can say, we can bifurcate. What is the what we call the tradition established in the Brahminical tradition in inheritance?
So Mitakshara and Dayabhaga.
Hmm?
Mitakshara and Dayabhaga.
So, do you think that Brahmins will give share of property to girls and boys equally?
No, sir.
What is the tradition it was? So, you can see that girls, when they're married off, they'll be married off with dowry. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And they will have no share. That means they will have no share. Then who will have share? Only the boys. Suppose if if some of the boys dies, the girl cannot have the property. So that father, that man who's there, his brother's son will have share, brother's son will have share, but not the girl. Okay. So when a person changes a religion to Christianity, according to Christian law of inheritance, in Christian law, it will be equal. Yes or no? Whether you're a boy or a girl, it is equal. So this change in the inheritance to inheritance of family property without a problem a girl can get. So what happened? The upper caste people who feared that even these people, girls will start to demand more and more. So why? Because the upper caste people were mostly what? Patriarchy. Yes or no? Are you getting me? Patriarchal thought. Patriarchal thought means what? Men alone. Rahul,
Yes,
are
sir.
you getting? Patriarchy
Yes,
means
sir.
what? Men alone. Only men has the
Yes.
right. Men can say, women cannot go. Women cannot be educated. Women cannot work. Women cannot do anything what man does. Women cannot wear what man wears. All these were patriarchal attitude. And that is why they propagated that changes to personal law. Now Hindus and Muslims, now they are when they convert to Christianity, the family property. So they did not want, and even in income tax filing, there is one clause for income. There is one clause, HUF. What is this HUF, Shubram?
Hindu undivided family, sir.
Okay, what is this
Yes, sir.
clause? Hindu undivided family. That means what? The people who wanted all their revenues together in as a one unit. So even in income tax, you have HUF. Imagine what was there more than 250 years ago. The situation of women was pathetic. So when the personal laws when it was changed and when they changed to one region other region, girls were getting property without any problem, equally shares. So now the family members who were there with them, who should get their patriarchal family, so they've started to propagate this. How can girls get property? These Christians are educating them. They are coming in jail. They are doing the mission work. They are meeting the prisoners. They are going to government schools. They are giving them good education. How can they do that? How can women be educated? These kind of attitude, what spilled what you called religious tensions or communal tensions. So reforms were made. Britishers legislated widow remarriage, abolition of girls, education of girls was given priority. Now, education of girls, this patriarchal mindset, the what you called the because Manu Dharma or Manuvadis who follow Manu as a code. Who follows Manu? The upper caste people, particularly the the land owning communities or Kshatriyas or Brahmins. So these are the communities who are particular about the code of Manu. So code of Manu was more important. So these Manuvadis, they Brahmins, they started and saying that Britishers are interfering in our culture, into our tradition. So it is, and they started propagating, instigating people to say that they are meddling with the affairs of our Hindu religion. We have to fight. That is why one part of the revolt of 1857 had a communal tension. Particularly, they had this against the Britishers as a communal angle. It became a Christian versus Hindu versus Christian. That type of a revolt they started to propagate. So British taxed lands of temples and mosques. This started. So there was a rumor that they started to spread that, oh, British has put tax to temples. So when you say temples, they never told that temple lands. So they said temples and mosques. So if you know that temples will have lands, why temples had lands? There are something called temple lands. Yes or no? Do you have temple lands? Soumya, do you have temple lands in Bhubaneswar?
Sir, I don't think it is in Bhubaneswar, but in villages there are lands which is actually of the Lord Jagannath.
What temple lands will be done? Temple lands will be agrarian lands. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And
And
what
that
they
tax
will
will
do?
going to
They
the
will
king.
be doing agriculture.
Yes, sir.
And whatever revenue that is coming, profits or surplus, this surplus will go to shared between the tiller or the farmer and the temple trustees or temple board. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So this surplus, and they don't have what you call any problem, and they will be doing generation after generations in the temple lands. But Britishers became greedy also. Certain time they also started to collect tax revenue from this. They also wanted a share. Why temple should get share? We also government, British also wanted a share. So the Purohitas were very much angered that why should British get? So now they started, no, they are taxing temples. So this rumor also hurt, and people did not understand that what is the motive of the British and what is the motive of the religious leaders. So people had to follow finally the leaders' dictats. So they also rose in a revolt against the British because of the British policies and the foreign nature of British rule. So British rule, when they came as trading partners in 1600 through merchant adventures. Unlike other invaders who came, particularly you can say Greeks came, yes, no to India, various other Turks came, or Persians came. All these people, they settled and became one among India, and they became part of Indian life. So there was no issues. But when British came, they never mingled. They're like water and oil. Will water and oil mix together, Soumya?
No, sir.
So
The oil will float.
yeah, similarly, British did not. They were standing apart, and this created a lot of trust deficit. And moreover, the Brahmins who got lot of respect, lot of what we called positions, power in courts, in temples, they were not seen as equal. They were not equal caste. Britishers even looked what you call look down at the Brahmins who are high caste. So later you can see that the Indological studies by Max Muller and other Asiatic Society of Bengal, when they started to say that earlier Indians were Aryans were of same blood of the Western, then this realization comes. But this comes later. It plays a later role after 1857. But prior to that, Britishers were discriminating. Even Brahmins were what you call not getting that respect because they were the leader in the Varnashrama Dharma system. Chaturvarna Brahmins enjoyed undisputed leadership and respect and control over the caste system. But with respect to Britishers, Britishers also treat Brahmins and among others. They were not having interaction. When they're not having interaction, they Brahmins could not yield that caste influence in the Indian society over the British. So British agenda was make money and do everything to the honor of the Queen. Only motherland, England will be honored, whatever, and earn money and send it to the government or to their family. They did not want to settle. So this also created a lack of trust and lack of what you called acceptance among the Indian upper caste. So what were the causes for the mutiny? Sir Syed Ahmad Khan said that revolt was whether planned or unplanned, it is debatable. Nothing can be cleared. But it was planned in some extent. Why? The fakirs were giving in chapatis and red lotus by sannyasis to the people as a measure of participating in revolt in the Fakir and Sannyasi rebellion. So it is somewhat planned. And contemporary historians who had analyzed the Sepoy mutiny of 1857 say that there is no eyewitness to Fakir and Sannyasis assembling in a planned manner and fighting against the British, and there is no evidence or there is no contemporary writing written by Indian and foreign authors. It was just a word of mouth. It was an oral tradition that was just recited to people. So it is debatable. So what were the course of events? So course of events is that Mangal Pandey's incidents. Mangal Pandey goes in fit for rage on 29 March 1857. He goes and kills a British officer. So when he kills, according to the military, if an officer commits crime, what will be the first step they'll be taking?
Court martial.
So they will court martial. When the court martialed, who will be what you called court martialing? Will police come from outside or from inside?
They're
Inside.
from inside.
So the military court will send its officials and they will arrest the person who was committed. But when Mangal Pandey committed, the fellow subordinate Indian officers did not want to capture. There are two reasons. One, they were fearing Mangal Pandey that if we capture and give to them, when they go back home, people will not forgive. Second, that they were also supportive. And what Mangal Pandey did is for the sacrifice of the country. So two things we can take. So they did not catch. Later, Mangal Pandey was arrested and he was given death sentence for killing the British officer and he was hanged to death. So this hanging to death spread like a wildfire. The rumors were spread uh, that Mangal Pandey, a Brahmin warrior, has been killed by the British, and revolt started in Meerut. Meerut is just 70 kilometers from Delhi. So Meerut, all this it started from Barakpur, from Dum Dum, Barakpur, Calcutta. It went to Azamgarh, into Patna, Allahabad, Banaras, Lucknow, and it comes to Meerut. From Meerut, the soldiers marched towards Delhi, and they call this event as Delhi Chilao. And then they go to the Red Fort and they declared Bahadur Shah Zafar as the Hindustan Emperor. What did they declare? Bahadur Shah Zafar as Hindustan Emperor, and their leader in the revolt of 1857 on 11th May in Delhi. So Bahadur Shah becomes the symbol of Hindu-Muslim unity as well as political leader. So now you can see that people today, Hindutva-wadis who are there, they are saying that, oh, Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb has destroyed the entire Mughals and they have removed a few chapters in NCRT recently. Yes or no? Why?
Because they love Mughals.
Huh?
Because
Love
the
of Mughals.
RSS people has a special affection towards Mughals. Especially
Then these are the people who say no. Why Zafar, a Muslim, became the symbol? Why they declare him? Why they could have declared Rani Lakshmi Bai or some other Tantriya Tope or Kunwar Singh as the leader? No. Why they declared Bahadur Shah, a poor old man who had just a 2-kilometer radius? 2-kilometer radius Red Fort.
Because of the mighty Mughal Empire, and for
Where
that
is
reason
mighty
they
Ma?
chose him.
Only 2-kilometer radius Red Fort Ma this man is having. Zafar.
Sir, before that,
That means
during
what?
Prestige was
Aurangzeb's
there.
time.
Why people had faith in Mughal? Why? Why people had faith in Mughal? Because Mughals
Because at
had
that time,
ruled
India
India
is
and they
prosperity
were
in
seen
economy.
as the symbol of unity, means they are seen as the central power because Mughals became one among India. Yes or no? They became one among Indian
Yes, sir.
subcontinent
Yes,
now.
sir.
So that is why they see them. And not only that, today's Hindutvawadis and RSS and all that, they don't want people to know the history. Tomorrow they will say, we don't want that to say that Muslims participated in the revolt of 1857. Christians participated in the revolt of 1857. They will say only Brahmins participated. It was the Brahmins who did. So we are not against the Brahmin community or any others, but the history, what was there, we are telling the injustice because it is a 5,000-year Aryan invasion and injustice, not 1 year, 2 year, 5 million injustice. It cannot be wiped away. So now they don't want Mughal Empire. So history you cannot change. Even God cannot change history. Do you think God can change history? Hmm?
No, sir. No, sir.
I cannot change, you cannot change. Even God cannot change the history. History is history. Only we can make
God is a part of the history.
Sir, maybe time travel can change history.
well, we'll see, ma. Only we can make history, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The God is a
As
part of the history.
when we class, we started at 6 onwards. We can see that now it is part of history. Yes or no? So we can make history in another 1 hour. We'll end this class, and whatever time we spend, it becomes history. So history that the people understood that Mughals are of great strength. And why their great strength? You see, the erstwhile Mughal Empire became rise of autonomous state. What did you see in the Hyderabad state? The founders, Hyderabad, you can see Mysore in Bengal and in Awadh. What happened? What were the rulers doing? The founders, we discussed, these rulers were known for personal integrity. Yes or no? The founders.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So they were able to keep, they did not, unlike the Mughal, what you call lineage, they never indulged in intoxicating drinks or with women in haram. They were people friendly. They treated Hindu and Muslim together. They're known for pluralistic tradition, equal opportunities. Hindus were appointed. So that is why people remember as Mughals at giving equal opportunity. So this was the reason why they called Zafar as a symbol unity. They could not. Why did they want Zafar? So today they are trying to change, conclude, bring what you call history. As you know that you have seen contemporary historians are not in agreement with this kind of politics played in the name of Indian history, was changing the history by the Hindutva ideology. Okay, so they are now playing with the Mughals. They are played particularly Aurangzeb, and they are playing with Tipu Sultan. Now they'll come to 1847 also. So Bahadur Shah Zafar was known for writing. What was Bahadur Shah? People understood Bahadur Shah's feeling because Zafar is not only the descendant of Mughals, he is a poet. A poet is a king in the land where it is patronized. Yes or no? Because
Yes.
poetry, literature, prose, poems can change people's mind. It can bring the thoughts. It can instigate people in them oneness, patriotism. So Zafar's writings also reached people. Okay. So Zafar is not only a erstwhile ruler, but he is also a person, literature. He was a person who writes poems, literature, prose. novels, all these reached people, and Zafar was in the hearts of the people. That is why Zafar was chosen by those rebels as the leader, and also he was the descendant of Mughals. So if people chose Zafar, they 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 did not have any ill feelings. Did they had any ill feelings that he is a Muslim? They have destroyed Hindu culture. They were the one who made India as Barbad. Hmm?
No,
But
sir.
But you can see that when Aurangzeb was there, India was a world's leader in manufacturing. It signaled proto-industrialization. One-fourth of the world's GDP, which is calculated, was from India. Farmers were happy, artisans were happy, people had enough. It had political stability for 5 decades, and the Mughals did not let the central government. They administered large area, and there was no frequent wars, which unlike happened in later part of the British history. So that is why people supported the Bahadur Shah Zafar as a man with symbol of unity. The chiefs, small feudatories, zamindars all participated, soldiers participated, but when all people participated, there was no mass consciousness. Why? There was no mass consciousness. Why?
Sir, because everyone is fighting for their own cause.
Correct. That's a good one. So everyone had their own grievances, their own problems. They were fighting. There was no nationalism. Okay, are you getting? There was no nationalism or oneness in thought and mind. It was not there. Each one was fighting for their own problem and grievances. That is why you can see that there was no unity in those leaders. So even though the political unity was there, they were unable to hold together. Why? Because for siege, you require a lot of resources. When you siege means what? You go and capture a place, you need to keep. But these people were not trained generals. They were soldiers. A soldier cannot lead an attack. Only a general or a commander will know how to lead an attack. Yes or no? Are you getting me? Samia,
Yes, sir.
Rahul?
Yes, sir.
Why there was effective leaders in Delhi? Why? Bakht Khan is a general. Bareilly army. He was a leader of Bareilly army. So that is why he gave effective leadership. He knows how to take a siege. What was the main reason Dupleix lost in second war of Carnatic? Dupleix is not a man of action. He is not a general. He is not equivalent to whom? Dalton, Lawrence, Robert Clive, Dupleix failed. Similarly, leaders who are there, they did not have that skill. They did not have that military leadership commander skills, because they are what people who got engrossed in this national spirit. They tried, but they did not devise any ways how to hold. They didn't have the military strategy, because they are fighting a great enemy. Who's the enemy? British. So these British were trained, what you called warriors, who had fought many wars, who have the Indian experience now. In the Doab region, Ganga and Yamuna and other region, you can see Kanpur, Awadh, all these region in the Ganges plains, people started. Rohillas started in Rohilakand, in Bihar, Bundelkhand, Bengal, Central India. This revolt had effect. But other parts of Bengal, Madras province, Bombay province, and certain central provinces, Punjab province, north, extreme Kashmir region, it was just quiet. So the armies of some princely states joined, particularly some part of the Sindhia of Gwalior, Holkar of Indore, erstwhile Maratha Sardars who were there. some erstwhile Kshatriyas joined, but they could not control because by the time British had become paramount power. When they became paramount power, British, they had already created geo-strategic military locations. Rahul, are you getting?
Yes, sir.
What is this geostrategic? Everywhere they are creating buffer in buffer. Now after this buffer, they are having standing army, professional standing army. And this army is called, and these army go and what you call, go and join and crush the revolt. And British now is observing that princely state rulers remained royal. Why did princely state rulers remain royal? Why they did not participate in the revolt of 1857? Tell me.
They were getting favors from the British.
No. No. Samya, you, can you guess?
Because they wanted to save their own territory,
Correct.
so
That is
that they
the
can grow.
reason. That means the rulers of princely state rulers, their interests are same as British. What is the interest of British?
Gain territory.
Safeguard. So princely state. Today it is British. Tomorrow it is us. Aaj aap, kal hum. What is the issue? Then now what is that issue now? So British enemy is what? Revolting people. Okay. Princely state enemy is who? These people who are revolting. So enemy is who? Your friend. So princely states and British were friends. So revolting people were the enemy. British enemy is people. Princely state enemy is revolting people. So princely state and British are friends. Artha Shastra. Are you getting?
Yes.
Okay. So now we can see that other parts of India is largely peaceful. All other princely states were peaceful. India was peaceful. So popular participation came from peasants, shopkeepers, artisans, craftsmen. This gave the real strength to the revolt, and it turned from a sepoy mutiny to a revolt. Popular where people also participated, but not in mass. Until Gandhian era, there is no mass politics or Indian consciousness or oneness in attitude. They didn't have. So posters were put up in Hindi, not Hindu. It's a mistake. Hindi, Urdu, Persian, the language of the people in the northern part, because this revolt was mostly a North Indian affair. Revolt of 1857. So, inviting common man, uniting against the British, who was a common enemy, people gave call. Posters were struck in strategic locations that people can see and get engrossed by this and join the revolt. So, pattern of revolt. So, you can see there was some kind of a pattern of revolt. The revolt was that these rebels were killing those people who were seen as the symbol of colonial power. That British officers, their children, their wives, or those people who were supported the revolt killed, they were looting and they were plundering government buildings, which are seen as the symbol of colonial power. And the same type of pattern was there when it started from Barakpur and from Calcutta, and it went into Patna, then from it went into Allahabad, Kanpur, it went to Lucknow and Meerut to Delhi. So there was one kind of a pattern. What was the pattern? Killing, looting, and plundering. So this indicates that communication was going in one unit of military to another unit in the sepoys between. So there were some instructions, but this was not enough because there were no big generals or leaders to lead the revolt. So this pattern of revolt had some similarities everywhere that establishes that sepoys were keeping their communication line from one point to other cities, and that is why this revolt had some resemblance everywhere on the same pattern of violence. So massacring of people was done by the British. So British, they also got annoyed. What they did, they also they went and hunted down those revolters. All were brought together. What they did, all people were tied. Okay, all people were tied. British, what they did? Soumya. Soumya?
They hanged them.
They hanged them publicly. One.
British
Second,
hanged them.
no,
Yes.
another thing also British did. They brought the cannon, which is mounted. Okay. So they mounted this cannon and they blew the what you call people. Okay. And not only that, they publicly hanged people. They hanged people to death. So this massacring of people was done. So counterproductive, what these people also did was they also went and massacred the British people, children, women, innocent people also. So there was both sides violence was there. Mistake was there on Indians also. They also went innocent, they killed innocent women and children. So violent, it started to go violent. They killed sepoys as well as Indians also tit for tat. And Britishers also saw when they saw women, children, and other officials were killed by the people, they also got aggressive. They also started hanging people, blowing them out, mass killings. All this happened, and it became a major issue. And Britishers also particularly peculiarly observing that the Hindus or Muslims were united together. Then only they saw if Hindu or Muslim are united, our empire will be lost. So what we should do, one thing we should do is to divide and rule. What British did when they saw the unity of Hindu and Muslim, what they did after the revolt, divide and rule. So in the previous revolts, particularly in the peasant and tribal revolts, in the Farazi revolts, you can see in Wahhabi revolt, what we'll see in the coming slides, that you can see Hindu and Muslims were joining together in raising their revolt against the oppression of the colonial people. So till now, till 1857, there is no communal politics. So British used communal politics for their survival. Today's Hindutvawadis are using communal politics, dividing people on religious lines without with any basis, pitting one community against other community. What is happening in Uttar Pradesh? What is happening in Uttar Pradesh? Why Supreme Court judges and everybody are coming out in this issue? The gangsters and killed in police custody when police was there. There's a big problem going on, no? Shiburam?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Yes,
Why
sir.
they are pitting? Why they are portraying? There are bigger issues in India. There are economic crisis in India. And India has facing lot many other social problems. All the media is only talking about Hindu-Muslim. Why? They don't want common man to question the government. They don't want common man to question about jobs. They don't want the price rise to be discussed. They don't want the bills to be parliament to be discussed. So media is busy portraying only those things. There are also political issues they are raising. The opposition is raising many questions, but there is no coverage, nothing, no sort. They are busy diverting people. This IPL also, government is using to divert youth. Youth are not interested. They see girls showing pom-poms and dancing. For them, it becomes entertainment. So what? So what they are happening? Youths are not being given the right information. They are in their own world. Government doesn't want to know what is the real state. If youths understand, youths will turn, and if youth join, what will happen? It will become revolution. Government doesn't want revolution to take place. So similarly, British government also did not want. They also curtailed. You can see after the revolt in 1857, the British became very aggressive. They bring in laws banning arms, laws banning newspapers. They ban in universities. Every type of media cannot report. They take action against publishers. So you can see, you can draw a parallel in British days as well as today's state of affairs in India, communal politics of India. But in the revolt of 1857, no communal politics. It was purely Hindu, Muslim, Christian unity. Those Indian Christians also participated in the revolt of 1857 in the liberation of motherland from the oppression of foreigners. But those participation are not being done because in other places, if I get time, we will talk about the Christian participation in freedom struggle. It will take another 3.5 hours. So there were many things were hidden. The many people who were with Mahatma Gandhi in Satyagrahas, when many Christians were there, who had many Christians were martyred for Christian, but that history is not written. So Hindu Muslim Christian unity was the major point that Britishers saw and observed, and this they kept in mind that we have to divide them. So, who were the leaders of revolt? The leaders of revolt, you can see General Bakht Khan was leading in Delhi, as well as Bahadur Shah Zafar. Who was there in Delhi?
Bahadur Shah
Bahadur
Zafar.
Shah Jafar
Bahadur Shah Zafar
and General
and
Bakht Khan.
General Bakht Khan.
Bakht.
Bakht Khan. General Bakht Khan in Delhi. Nana Sahib was the adopted son of Peshwa Bajirao II. He was leading in Kanpur. Begum Hasrat Mahal was leading in Lucknow. And you can see Khan Bahadur Khan was leading in Bareilly. Lakshmi Bai Rani was leading in Jhansi. Tantia Tope in Gwalior. Kunwar Singh in Bihar. Liaquat Ali in Allahabad. Muniram Datta or Muniram Dutta in Assam. Rao Tularam Haryana. Devi Singh Mathura. Kadam Singh in Meerut. Then you will find Faizabad Muhammad Ullah in Banda. Nawab Ali Bahadur in Ara in Faizabad. You can see Maulana Ahmadullah was there. Then in Bagpet in UP, Bagpet in UP, you will have Shah Mahal was also leading as a leaders in this revolt of 1857 resisting the British. So where were the major centers? Can you see in the map? Rahul, can you see in the map?
The upper part of Tropic of Cancer only.
So it is just a North Indian affair. Is it right or true?
Yes, sir.
So only the plains, Gangetic plains were involved. So it started in Dum Dum in Calcutta. It went to Barakpur. It went to Patna. It went to Ara. It went to Banaras. It went to Allahabad. From there, it went to Lucknow. then Kanpur, Jhansi, Gwalior, Bareilly, Meerut, and finally to Delhi. So can you see there is a trail, there is a what you call the communication line,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
and this is not haphazard. It is not one here, one there, one there. It is happened in one success. So you can see that it had gone only the western direction from east. Yes or no? From east to west, this had penetrated. So it is mostly the issue is in the erstwhile United Provinces or called Awadh. Why Awadh? Who was the last Nawab, Nawab of Awadh state? Wajid Ali Shah. Yes or no? Is it true?
Yes.
Wajid Ali Shah was the last Nawab, and he was removed by Dalhousie in the pretext of what?
Maladministration, misgovernance.
Misgovernance. When he was removed on the pretext of misgovernance, people angered. Why? Wajid Ali was known for Hindu-Muslim unity. People were given because they founded Saadat Ali Khan. Who was Saadat Ali Khan? The first, the founder of Awadh Autonomous State. Okay, so he was secular, he was pro people, and they had what? Secular credentials. So you can see that those people, autonomous state, those leaders had pluralistic thinking. So that is why when this was unceremoniously, our province was annexed to the British paramountcy, people rose to anger. That is why you can see major, this is the Awadh province. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So Awadh became the major point because of Dalhousie's action, and that resulted in the revolt of 1857 when Canning was there, Lord Canning. Lord Canning was the last, what he called, Governor General of East India Company. Later, he became the first Viceroy of the British Crown and the first Governor General of Crown in India. Okay. So some facts for the prelims. Who is Nana Sahib? Nana Sahib is the adopted son of last Peshwa, Peshwa Bajirao II. Doctrine of lapse was implemented by Lord Dalhousie. It started in Satara, Jhansi, Udaipur, Sambalpur, Nagpur, and Jhansi. Finally, Awadh was snatched in the context of good of the governed by Lord Dalhousie. So Inam Commission was set up. Why did the what you called people from different regions revolted prior to 1857? Lord Dalhousie he appoints Inam Commission. What do you mean by Inam? What is Inam?
A reward.
Monetary
Reward.
reward.
This reward is comes with a price or it is free?
Comes with the price.
Comes with a price. Inam. Inam is always free. Who gives Inam?
The king, emperor.
Ah, emperor. That means freely. Oh, I came. Samya comes to emperor says, "You are Shah, you are God's representative on earth. I am very poor. Please help me. Give me some land. Take Inam Silelo." So all these lands which was given by the erstwhile rulers and the Mughals, British said they did one law and said, why? Who was the Governor General during this period?
Canning.
This period,
Dalhousie.
1856.
Dalhousie.
Lord Dalhousie. And what kind of person he is Dalhousie?
Expansionist.
So he excelled more than Hastings. He was the epitome of British paramountcy. And he chose the Victorian eras of greediness of hook or crook to territorial gains. and that had a reflection globally, and it had in India. Lord Dalhousie is not exception. He was following to please Queen Victoria. So Lord Dalhousie wanted one other reason. So he said, "Oh Mughals, all they gave land." What is the concern of Lord Dalhousie with respect to those Rajas who were given? He said, all the lands which was given by the kings and erstwhile rulers, all these Inam lands, which is not purchased, got freely, it is all state lands. What is that? That is, that land belongs to British. I told you in the early part of the lecture, innovation. What is that? Administrative innovation. What is this called as? Shiburam?
Sir,
What is this called as? This agenda of
administrative,
confiscating.
administrative.
Administrative innovation. Labs. Doctrine of labs is administrative innovation. Annexation, misgovernance. It is also administrative innovation, annexation through misgovernance. Yes or no? This was nowhere in the world. It was only
Yes,
in
sir.
India. That is why it's called administrative innovation. Okay. If it was there somewhere, we will say only the cost. But we are using the term administrative innovation. So all the region south of Narmada River or the imaginary Rhine, Capricorn, you can see it was only peaceful. Can you see? Narmada River, no issues, peaceful. So 3/4 of India was peaceful. Only the North Indian Hindi belt was fighting. So by July 1858, revolt went very peacefully, completely suppressed. British brought all the regiments. They brought all the ancillary, subsidiary forces, everything. They crushed. First thing they did, throw this Zafar. Otherwise, he will cause more trouble. So he was deported to Rangoon in Burma in 1857. He died in as a deported Mughal emperor in Burma. And now British saw the loyalty of Indian native states. Who were all loyal to British? Rahul, which all? Rajputs were loyal. Gulab Singh, who had gone and captured Ladakh, he is also very, what he called, very loyal. Sindhyas, though one part of Sindhyas of Gwalior fort, major Sindhyas were very much loyal to the British. The Nizams of Hyderabad was loyal. Jodhpur, the Rajput, what he called, Maybar and Marwar leaders were very much loyal. Bhopal were loyal. Indore, one part of Holkars were very loyal. The Gurkhas were loyal. Sikhs were loyal. Mysore, under the was loyal, and other states were loyal. So you can see British. That is why British, they, after the revolt of 1857, they dropped the plan of expansion or annexation. So what they become, what was the political policy? Political policy was they were subordinate isolation prior to 1857, and from 1858, the political policy of British changed. They brought subordinate union from 1858 onwards. Who all these forces were subordinate, but they were united in the agenda of safeguarding the territory. They were union in spirit. That is why all the native states became in communion, with the British. They became communion with the British because both the agenda of the native state and British, they collided with each other. Not collided, they merged with each other. They were similar to each other. So what are the causes for the failure of the revolt of 1857? So you can see that the causes was that limited territorial and social base of the people who were participating. All India participation, mass participation was not there. Revolt was more or less only a North Indian affair. And all these leaders who participated did not have modern weapons. They are using pikes, they were using bows and arrows or small weaponry. British were using big cannons, rifles, snipers, and other modern military gadgets and weaponry. And these were purely organized. All classes of people did not join. Big jamindars, talukdars, big merchants, money lenders, they preferred British rule. Even the educated middle class intelligentsia group, they also looked down. They said these fellows are going backward. They want to go into the old regressive ways of method. And they will say that don't cross the sea, you will lose your Gotra. We have crossed the sea and gone to England, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and all. We have studied, we have come. And if we are fighting, British will not take us into civil services and administrative jobs. Now, let us not support. Many kings and other princely states did not support because today, if we support, if British goes away, tomorrow these people will come and hit us. So we cannot survive. Our clan cannot survive. We will lose our kingship, our land, our wealth, everything will be lost. So we will just keep quiet and support the British. So people who were fighting in the North India mostly were poorly organized. The Bombay presidency, Madras presidency, another major part of Bengal presidency, all were quiet. Gurkhas and Punjabi regiment helped the British to curtail the revolt of 1857. And Sindhias, Kashmir, Hyderabad, Afghanistan, Sindh, Nepal, everything remained loyal. But Indians were poorly organized, fighting in ancient, what you call weapons. It did not hurt the British. What were the means of communication? People in those days were very much aware the innovation which helped communication to the British. This British telegraph sent communication within minutes or hours to one center to other center. Communication was very powerful, and this helped British to understand where all there is revolt, what is the nature, how they are controlling, who is the leader, what kind of thing. They were getting intelligence time to time. Indians did not have such kind of communication. That is why communication failed. And communication was going from one mouth to other person. And that is how you can see that there were similar types of revolt, killing, looting, and finally, what you called raising slogans and fighting the British by destroying their hospitals, schools, officers, everything. And the leaders who participated and people who participated did not have any military strategy. There was no leadership. They are weak. And everybody was fighting for their narrow parochial weak, what you call agenda. They want grievances, nothing synced. There was no common concrete one agenda. There was no nationalism, no common vision. All the rebel was fighting for each cause and for each means. So this was the biggest disunity Indian had, which the British could easily curtail the revolt of 1857. The upper and middle class stayed away from the revolt. Educated Indians stayed away because they said these fellows will go back to the old regressive old days. When we don't want any superstitious beliefs and all those traditions pushed on us. Otherwise, they will say that if you cross sea, you will be losing your gotra, you lose your caste. So they thought that British will give them administrative jobs, civil services jobs, and they will use their education which they got abroad. Will they make them progressive by joining the administrative services? But at the end, we can see these educated Indians are the ones who fight the British in the later after 1857, but that time they form associations and pre-Congress associations. Educated Indians, are they anti-national? Rahul, are educated Indians anti-national or national?
They were national, sir. They wanted the social progress.
So they were national, but they did not want to join this kind of agenda against the British, because they stayed away because rebels wanted old method. What they did, they also went and brought Mughal emperor as Bahadur Shah as Hindustan emperor. They wanted a modern society. They want on scientific basis. They want on rationalistic basis. They don't want any some epic stories depicting. So they were educated abroad. So they had this modern thought, scientific temper. And they want British, how they have developed Australia, Canada and all, they wanted India to have such kind of education institutions, institutions of great importance, parliamentary system. They want that innovations, the transport system, the economic system, what they follow, all those modernity and those what you called prosperity which was there, they wanted that British to bring. So they were believing that British will give them opportunity and they will use. That is why they stayed away. But these staying did not bring any good results for them. And when people joined, there was no national consciousness or unity as Indians for one cause. This had impacted very severely the revolt of 1857. Another major weakness is that whenever the rebels go and catch, siege of any place, they were not able to hold. Why? They didn't have, they do not know how to plan a siege. What do you mean by siege or attack? They do not know how to sustain the attack and keep that place, hold on, because they are not trained. They don't have that leadership qualities. So British, once they're thrown out, again they'll retaliate and catch hold of that place. In that way, British were successful in putting down one rebel issue against other in successive ways. They are able to curtail down. What is the impact of the revolt of 1857? What impacted? You can see that there were a lot of situations, factors that impacted. So British had to take cognizance. Their crown, they took effective, what you called control that we said we'll take. Is British crown interfering in administration, taking over completely only now, or they were meddling with the affairs earlier also? Rahul?
Yes, sir.
British, they intervened and took over the administration. No, it is the first time that British are taking the what you called the control of the India, or they had earlier intervened in Indian administration.
They had intervened, but not that much. Like
They had intervened many times. What you say, Regulating Act 1773 onwards. They, and what about 1793 Act, 1813 Act, Charter Act, 1833 Act. Okay, what all these acts? British had their hold. It is only just a nominal takeover. Already they started nearly 50% of the control. Already the British Crown had. So you can see that era of territorial expansion ended. Why? When the native states stood in support of the British, they started. And now British thought that high time we start looting India. Otherwise, if any one more type comes, we will be doomed. So economic drain started. At the same time, you can see British also are playing politics. What is that? So British understood that, okay, what you give small concessions and slowly take major share of pie. The talukdars of Awadh who were ousted, who were impacted by the British revenue system were reinstalled. And most of the rebels were set free. Now British understood what? Let them go. If you are there together, they will still become stronger. Now what they did, they started communal politics, communal agenda, divide on basis on communal and rule over this. Ultimately what? Safeguard empire. Safeguard the empire. Nothing can be done. We have to safeguard and we cannot let loose the prize position. Jewel in the British Empire is India. Jewel in the crown. What is the nature of the revolt? VD, Vinayak Damodar Savarkar says that revolt of 1857, Sipahi mutiny, is called First War of Independence. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru says it is a feudal outburst. Those jamindars, talukdars who had lost their property, their positions, they are the ones who instigated the people for against the British. So it's a feudal outburst. Subhash Chandra Bose says neither it's a feudal outburst nor the Sipahi mutiny. It is a national uprising. So we can see that this revolt of 1857 is a culmination of many grievances. We have already discussed. I'm just showing you the slides. So peasants, zamindar, artisans, handicrafts, traders, tribal, sepoy, princes of certain native states, religious groups, all had grievances. And British started with what? Revenue collection system. According to the revenue system followed by the Mughals as under the Shivaji rule, under the Maratha rule was what? What type of system, revenue system?
The Chauth and Sardesh.
And service book.
What do you mean by Sardesh Mukhi and Chauth?
1/4 and 1/10.
So that means what? Maximum you will get 35%. Yes or no? So maximum tax. But you can see British introduced Jamindari system. But is British introducing something innovative or others also have tried?
Sir, others are also tried that because Jamindari system has there.
Later Mughals headed by Zulfikar, he introduced this evil system as what?
Ijra
Revenue,
system.
permanent system. And these revenue collectors were left to the mercy. They can collect how much want, but they have to fixedly pay. British are not bringing, they also bring this. And in this, British, what they do, they compare this system with their own in England. In England also, there was issue with the land revenue connection. But there, you cannot compare the land owned by the aristocrats and the peasant class. So they brought this system. And this system was introduced by Lord Cornwallis. So he wanted more and more revenue. But the original idea was Sir John Shore was the propagator of the system. So British wanted more revenue. So after the Battle of 1757 and the Battle of Buxar 1764 and the true treaties in Allahabad 1765, the nature of British started, the drain of resource started. So this revenue system was brought in the erstwhile Bengal province, which included East Bengal, West Bengal, Assam, Rajbongsi or Kuch Bihar, and it involved Odisha, Jharkhand, Bihar region. So they wanted the richest region in India, province, they wanted to introduce. So they said, we will raise a set of community landlords who will become the agent of the government so that let us not break our heads in collection. Let these agents do, let me give a small portion to them. And for us, it is a very easy job. So some landlords were made. So the peasants who were there, they lost. So the peasants who were there, they lost what you called their lands. So the peasant who was cultivating, he became tenant. He lost nearly 60% of the land. Major 60% of the cultivators all became landless, and they became workers or tenants or farm workers in the new class of zamindars. These zamindars did not own any land. It is created, this class is created by the British. And those who are loyal, British will say, you are zamindar, you take this area, so many villages will be yours. So zamindars became in overnight, without working hard, without sweating the what you call putting hard work, they became landlords. But these cultivators who are the real tillers of land, who were the owning this land, owner became tenant. And British said, you can collect how much ever you want, but you give us so much of arbitrary. This revenue system, they collected not on the value of the land, yield of the land, fertility, and other factors. They simply said they took one sample and they implemented everything for the same. So this was a very failure, the revenue system for Zamindari system. Riotwari system. So Riotwari system was done by Thomas Munro and Alexander Reed. It was implemented in Madras Presidency. According to the system, they wanted to see that they wanted to remove the middleman, and the riot will directly be in contact with the British, and they will collect. So the Munro and Reed thought that certain times these middlemen take lot of revenue, they don't give to British. Better why we will only collect. So this system had absence of zamindars. So now cultivator was recognized as the owner and he has to pay directly. This time they said 50% of the yield you have to pay. So not permanent. They said sometimes they arbitrarily fix. Okay, you're paying 50%. Next time you pay 75%. Next time you pay 80%. So they were kept on changing the revenue, and cultivator was totally devastated and impoverished the farmers. Mahalwari system. This Mahalwari system was implemented in central India and northern India, particularly the province of Awadh, Punjab region, northwestern frontier region. And this Mahalwari system gave some revenue and it was quite effective. And Mahalwari system irrigation also improved. But this Mahalwari system was done instead of individual, whole village was done. And Britishers, they brought a new kind of aristocrat family called Mirasdars. What is that? Mirasdars. So Mahalwari system, which had headland, Mirasdars are the new landlords. And this revenue collection was also revised periodically. They were not they were fixed arbitrary, and they were reviving at the whims and fancies. British, how much ever they want, they want. They were not doing a proper what you call revenue collection, which is based on the yield of the land. So all these systems failed. So people became very much angered because British was only looking in extracting, and making people pauper, and people had to die of hunger. So this, we can see that every part of India now British totally, this is the map which British totally, you can see they had under their control the Paramount Sea. So peasants also fought. So extraction of maximum money, they're tormented by the zamindars, landlords, and it brought disguised unemployment because Indian economy was made into colonial economy. From food crops to cash crops, they induced only cultivation of indigo. They went for the plantations. There was very low payment, high rent. So people were not having money to buy grains. They were caught in the net of money lenders who charge exorbitant revenue or interest. And when they didn't have, they've had what you called, they did not cultivate. When they did not cultivate, they were artificial famine. Moreover, they were natural causes also. Rains did not come. Pests, floods also certain times came. So all destroyed the agriculture, produce, cattle, their own belongings, everything. So all this led to the impoverishment of peasants. Zamindars were also in rose in the revolt of 1857. Already I discussed. The zamindars were in a position to pay taxes, but when British pressed for more, they were not in a position to pay. So those who defaulted, their lands were confiscated and their lands was auctioned. And Britishers started this, that zamindars had this sunset rule. What do you mean by sunset rule?
It
From
will
dawn
have
to
an expiry date.
from dawn to dusk, sunset. That means from dawn people have to work. When sun sets, people have to stop. Then the what you called, people have to pay. That means people are working for more than 12 to 14 hours. Yes or no? In Eastern India. Rahul, are you getting?
Yes, sir.
So in Eastern India, you can see the twilight, the sun, the dawn and to dusk is nearly more than 12 hours. Because I am here, it is getting brighter by 3:30 a.m. in the Nagaland and Northeast and all. And sun is setting somehow by you have this twilight by 6:30. Can you see? It is more than 12 to 14 hours. Yes or no? It is not like 6 a.m. sun rises, 6 a.m. sunsets. So this long hours also people were working, but they were not getting paid properly. And the spread of absentee landlordism. What is it, absentee landlordism? That many of the lands which the old zamindars were there, their lands were auctioned and money lenders took over. These money lenders never bothered about the peasants. They started subletting to some person, giving subcontract, and these person were not taking care, and that earned the wrath of peasants, including the natural calamities like floods and droughts, led to the artificial famines and natural famine. It impoverished people. People died of hunger, poverty, disease, and that ruined agriculture, and also it brought the peasants to beggary. So you can see that artisans, craftsmen, everybody were affected. Traders were affected because British started to have different policy. British, from the early days of trading, they had got the duty free. They never paid taxes. Moreover, Indians have to pay a very high export duty tax. British merchants, when they bring, for them no duty. And British did not develop any industries. All the industrial revolution and industries, everything happened only in England, in Britain, nothing in India. So India had to supply only raw materials. So only raw materials to England. So this ruined India as a self-sufficient economy. Slowly, they started to become colonial economy. Tribals also joined in revolt. This tribal revolts I will do separately. So tribals were now getting into the clutches of the British. Why? British want more and more revenue and they want more lands to come. So tribal lands, they come under the laws of the revenue settlements. These tribals also did not understand the forest laws. Now the Britishers are coming. You cannot go to the forest. You cannot live in forest. You cannot use the forest produce. Actual tribals are the guardians of forests. Now British is saying this all belongs to government. They are saying we do not know government. Our leader is only the tribal leader. So this brought direct conflict with the British. Sepoys had own grievances. Because of 1822 army reforms, British started uh, giving what he called equal treatment to everybody. This was not liked by the upper caste Brahmins and Rajputs who are there. They wanted the caste privileges what existed earlier to be continued. That means a lower caste person will not put in charge of upper caste, even though they are talented. So this kind that upper caste people, when there was unwritten rule that only upper caste people will be made higher officials. If lower caste is sepoy, you'll die as sepoy. But other officials of upper and higher caste, they will mount higher. So this few promotions, people who are there disregarded. And in this era, you can see Brahmins joined in major, what you call majority of them into army. So you can see upper caste also joining army and donning the role of Kshatriya. And General Service Enlistment Act, which came, they also were forced to go outside. Their allowances, double bata was abolished. They were not getting the same preferential treatment. That means English soldier officer is getting one pay, Indian soldier is getting another pay. And the issue of grease cartridges. The British introduced new type of cartridges to fight, put there in their guns and shoot. These cartridges were called Enfield. So these had a sticky substance that was rumored that they have put the greased with the fat of pig and cows. But it was a rumor, it was not proved. So this became bone of contention because cow is sacred animal to the upper caste, Brahmins and others who don't consume meat. And but pig is haram to Muslims. When they said pig and cow fat, it enraged major communities against the British for going against their religion. And finally, annexation of Oudh. Sepoys were very much annoyed because their just leader, their Nawab, was unjustly ousted and this land was usurped by the British. All became immediate cause. Religious reason. And these upper caste people were also not liking that these British are meddling with ours. We are the custodians. We are Purohitas. We are the ones who are going to dictate terms. So they were against this abolition of sati, widow remarriage, mixing of castes in the army, and what we called the other reforms brought. And moreover, they didn't like the Christian missionaries coming and giving education to children, women, scientific education. They also said, oh, these missionaries are part of Britishers. They are here to convert our people. We don't want. So communal agenda was also spewed by the upper caste Brahmins, and this also fueled the people to fight against the Christian missionaries, their schools, their hospitals or house pieces, their offices, everything along with government offices, everything was attacked. And this brought lot of ill will against the people of India. So these people instigated. Okay. So So that is the end of the revolt of 1857. When revolt started, it started with lot of issues, but the matchstick was Mangal Pandey. When he lit and when he was hanged, this went from one place to another, and it became a huge revolt. Okay, so shall we discuss some UPSC questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll discuss one or two questions. Already it is time, and we will see tomorrow in the evening class. We'll discuss more questions. So whatever portions I have done, we'll be discussing last 10 years questions. You will see that There'll be a match between the topics covered and the questions asked by the British. Okay, so consider the following statement. Pindaris are made up of all castes and communities, were attached to Maratha armies as mercenaries. Amir Khan, Karim Khan were their leaders. What is the answer? Shiburam.
A1.
Only one. You see, Pindaris are all caste? Yes. Amir Khan, Karim Khan were the leaders of Pindaris. All caste and community, they belong to Muslims also. They belong to Hindu and different castes among Muslims and Hindus. So Amir Khan and Karim Khan are also part of it. So the answer is what? Answer is
C.
B. C, both 1 and 2 is correct. So these were curtailed down by whom? Pindaris, who are called Dakus.
So, Lord Hastings.
Lord Hastings. So consider the following statement. The founder of independent principality of Awadh was who? Chin Kulich Khan. Murshid Quli Khan is the founder of Bengal. The founder of independent state of Hyderabad was Sadat Khan.
2 only.
Hmm?
2 only.
So,
Two
who
only,
is the
sir.
founder of Awadh? Sadat Ali Khan. Muhammad Mian Khan, Sadat Ali Khan, the first is the founder. So, first statement wrong. Second statement, Murshid Quli Khan is the independent founder of Bengal. Yes. The founder of independent state was Chin Kulich Khan, Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jaha. Can you see how British are naively they said Kilich Khan?
Yes.
Who is Kilich Khan? Is nothing but Chin Kulich Khan. Okay, who is Chin Kulich Khan? Is nothing but Nizam ul Mulk. Who is this Nizam ul Mulk? He is also called as Asaf Jaha. Are you getting how British naively? Sorry, the UPSC has very what you call confusing way, purposefully confused the student who's taking the exam. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So the answer is only A, only 2. Okay. So we will stop here.
Okay,
You have
sir.
any questions?
If we discuss more such questions like these questions.
Yeah, that we'll be doing. Okay.
Yes.
No, it is there because now it's already time. So we will see you tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Bye. Take care. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.